7th. Okay, 6, 7 root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then we go into the long string shape. Okay, so we started in a G string shape. Here's our G shape. C would be the parent. And we went up from C to the C would go to the G shape. C rather would go to the E shape. Up here, the 6th of that E shape. I can bring that E down here because it's octave for me. Now, when I want to go to that shape for the 6th, I'd have to play a half chord. I have to play the half chord, but it's going to be D minor shape because E goes to D. So it's this half chord, but this happens to be a 7th chord, half chord. While you find the chord, you can do like a light strum of it, maybe where you're anchoring before you settle on all 6 strings. Okay, so that's a minor 7th chord anyway. Where were we? We were talking about the Aeolian. That was a D minor shaped, half shaped A minor chord there on my down C tuned. You'd have to put the fret note for the half shapes, and this is going to be next lessons. This is a peek into next lesson stuff. If you wanted to play that half shape way up here, that D minor shape is actually right here. I mean, that's fine. You can play those 3 strings. This is the way we're looking at it now with the 2 strings. So that's all I'm saying. And I put a big 6 there because we can always add a 6 on top of that for this 6 here, but we have our mighty clef right there. So this is the bass clef. We have the upper clef. We've covered how in the ideal situation, but this is not on the upper bass clef. Okay, this C note is not on the upper bass clef. I already checked that out. I can just show you quickly how I did that. Okay, so here's your upper bass clef here. B, half diminished 7th, starts on the B, sitting on top. You know, it's the ball on the bottom of the fence. And then up here, it's the ball on the top of the fence. I guess it's a sticky fence up there. And then this C is not part of the upper bass clef. That's pretty much the gist of today's lesson. We will be looking at this a little more. I'd like to just go a little bit past here and look at these double string shapes for the Locrian. 7 root, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what would we call this in letters? It's going to be RE. So it's ERE because we're dealing with modal string shapes now. We have the C, we have C to 4C here, and we have G to E. Now here we're looking at also sharing 2 notes, 6, 7 root, and then 7 root 2. One thing about these shapes, when you want to make a rule, oh, it only shares 1 note. Short string shapes only share 1 note. Possibly long string shapes, all of them share 2 notes. But don't make that assumption until you've gone through all the cases involved. And of course, in our system here, we're not doing the Dorian, we're not doing the Phrygian C, so we might skip these and think we can make a rule. Let's look at it. the ER string shape or the RE string shape root 2, 3. Then we go 2, 3, 4. They're sharing 2. C4, 4, 5, 6 with 5A. They're sharing 2 there. These are the unused, so we would have to go all 7 if we want to make a decent rule of thumb. You have to test all 5 shapes if you're going to make any kind of rule of thumb, because you'll find one of them doesn't fit. So you couldn't make that rule. I learned that so many times in these studies. D, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 4, 5, sharing buddies there, 2 string, 2 note there, 2 string. 5, 6, 7, 6, 7 root, we're sharing 6, 7 there, that's a 5A, G. So it's important that we go over. These are the unused. See how thorough we are? We aren't even going to use these, and we're going to see in the one big clef system if 2 string double modal string shapes, not double shorts, if they share 2 notes each. 3, 4, 5, C goes to 4, 5, 6, which is 4C, sharing the 4 and the 5. G, 6, 7 root to E, we're sharing the shorts. We have 3, 4, 5, and then 5, 6. We're only sharing 1 note with the short A in this particular scheme. But you know it goes to the next. So are these strictly modal string shapes? No, it's more 12 key, because 12 key covers even the shorts. Now this is important, people. These are modal string shapes here because they start on the modal roots. Okay? But this 5, 6 here, it starts on the modal root, but it's a short string shape. So this is a hybrid stack, the modals and the shorts. So I was kind of half right, half wrong before. But the concern was the same, that we're dealing with long string shapes and short string shapes. And this, how tall is this stack? 12. How many keys are there? 12. These are the actual 12 key hybrid stack. And you'll see that, say, starting on root, depending on what that root is, that would be that key. So we would just say K1 there, depending on what note that is. Where's the capo? Where's your tuning? Where are you starting from? That works all the way up even with these guys, because the modal scale may start 1 away from the lowest absolute playable open string. So that's how that works. Again, finishing up here, so we have a short string shape there. Why is that? So it's, for the most part, it's a 2-note overlap with these long, nice long cello, fiddle, violin string shapes, not a 5th apart. We have the overlap. See, being a 4th apart, we have the ladder effect. We're climbing that long, long ladder all the way up 6 strings. You maintain 3 points of contact. Now, I don't know how you get anywhere with 3 points of contact, but if you got the time, you can play it safe. So with P4 tuning, we see duplication. But if it was P5 tuning, okay, these string shapes are helpful, because the next string shape up could be the 7 there. Because in P4 we go up a 4th over to a 5th. So this would actually be, okay, cello, fiddle, that's how it would be. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a 5th here. All right, from the 4th to the root is a 5th. From the 5th to the 2nd is a 5th. That's how the P5 tuning goes. It's nice because you don't have the tuning third to worry about. So you have to play these long things. So this might fit better. So again, we saw here there's only 1 note shared here in this double string shape. 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7. Here's a double long right here, sharing 2. Still sharing 2 only. 7, root 2, root 2, 3, sharing 2 there. E, R-E, E to R-E. So this D actually doesn't have to be here. The only reason, again, I mentioned earlier in the lesson that this D is there, when we add the 4, you just want us for reference know that there's a D string shape there to make it a true modal scale instead of a mighty scale, which would be, in Lydian, it'd be, there's a mighty scale, here's a true modal scale. Here's the mighty notes of the treble clef there. Now, treble clef actually goes to the upper C, so once again, knock, knock, knock. What's wrong? Why do I think the treble clef starts below the middle C? I don't know. I'm just a baritone, that's all. I have baritone bias. That's a joke. Alright, thanks, Hawk. Okay, so 5, 6, 7 root, talk about the higher notes. Root 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5, 6, then 6, 7 root. Here's the double short, sharing the 6. They're sharing one note there. There's another case with the 5, 6. You remember, because we got 5, 6 as the shorts in the true hybrid pattern stack, which is 12 unique string shapes. Root 2, 3, R-E into D, R-E-D. We've got 3, 4, and then the C would be there for 5. There's something going on out there. It's either my wife or a cat. Or the neighbor. 6, 7 root, 7 root. Sometimes 2. Sounds bounce around. Then 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5 for the Aeolian, way up high. We're way up high with this. 6, 7 root 2, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be the 6th. So that's about it for today, because I will be putting these string shapes onto fretboards, okay, and we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about, and the next chart after that's going to be a little exercise. We're going to change the subject a little bit and go into how we can find very easily the 6th. Hey, it's Andy's Free Guitar Chart Videos. It's been a good lesson.